Hello, everyone. Welcome to Leisrealtalk. Well, I have new equipment today, so hopefully I will sound better today. Thanks to the suggestion, encouragement, and support of some of my fans, I have a new microphone today, so hopefully this will give us better audio. Okay. All right. You like my audio? Okay, good. All right. Thank you. So let's talk about if Xi Jinping is under house arrest or not. Well, I've been saying for months now, if not longer, that Xi Jinping has lost power. And based on the latest developments, I believe he is no longer free to leave Zhongnanhai without permission. In other words, he's effectively under house arrest. I understand these are bold claims compared with what mainstream media outlets are saying. Just 2 days ago, before Trump and Xi held a phone call, most major Western media outlets predicted that Xi would take a tough, hardline stance. That analysis stands in stark contrast to what independent observers like myself have been saying, that Xi is no longer in control, but merely a puppet. I believe world leaders, including Putin and Trump, are trying to figure out what's really going on inside Zhongnanhai as well. Interpreting CCP politics isn't easy. It's the most secretive and deceptive regime on earth. Still, if we pay close attention, there are plenty of clues that can help us. So after vanishing from public for about 2 weeks, she reappeared on June 4th, but not in a formal setting. Instead, he received Belarusian President Lukashenko at his residence inside Zhongnanhai. I talked about this on Thursday. The location, the limited officials in attendance, and the family gathering nature of the meeting were all highly suspicious or irregular. Far from crushing the rumors, the meeting reinforced growing suspicion that Xi Jinping has been stripped of power. And the lunch meeting with Lukashenko gave rise to the speculation that Xi Jinping has moved out of his office or official office and into a private courtyard in Fengzheyuan, which is a compound within Zhongnanhai. And this is where he now lives, works, and even receives foreign leaders and meet people. And therefore, his ability to leave home is perceived as being limited. So at first, I was skeptical. I wasn't ready to accept this claim without more proof. But then state media, CCTV, gave us exactly that. They aired footage of another event featuring Xi Jinping. And instead of contradicting the rumors, it further validated the idea that Xi Jinping's movements are now restricted. So before I tell you what the other event is that made me believe Xi Jinping is restricted from leaving his home, let's take a step back and walk through the key events chronologically that brought us to this conclusion, which is that Xi Jinping has lost power. Okay, so this gives the CCP politics a review, a good review for the past 12 months. So his loss of power began in the military, and it didn't just start recently. It can be traced back to the Lunar New Year 2024, when a Taiwanese media outlet reported that the man Xi Jinping entrusted with PLA personnel and political vetting was a silent, giant, corrupt general. At the time, the rumor was explosive because the man in question was one of Xi Jinping's most trusted military leaders, Miao Hua. Actually, I have pictures. Chris has spent a lot of time today pulling, because people have suggested that I show names and pictures during the presentation, and that's exactly what Chris helped me today. So Yes, so here's a picture of Miao Hua. Now, the expose was a clear sign that Xi Jinping's rivals were going on the offensive. But this didn't happen overnight. The fact that Miao Hua was, under the was being scrutinized, it didn't happen overnight. Two major events in 2023 set the stage. The first was the purge of the PLA rocket force and the downfall of two defense ministers, Li Shangfu and Wei Fenghe. Over a dozen PLA generals were taken down, signaling a sweeping purge. The second event was the sudden death of former Premier Li Keqiang. Here we go. When did he die? I think he died in October 2023. Yes. Although Li had no political aspirations, I shouldn't say no political aspiration. I should say Li had no political ambitions that challenged Xi Jinping. Many within the CCP viewed him as a better alternative to Xi Jinping, and that put him in danger. Li's death escalated the internal power struggles, turning it into a bloody, high-stakes game of survival. And Xi Jinping's opponents felt they had to act, or they would end up just like the premier. At that moment, the man with the biggest existential crisis was Zhang Youxia, Xi Jinping's close ally and the vice chairman of Central Military Commission. There we go. Now, Zhang had played a critical role in helping Xi secure a third term at the 20th Party Congress, but his growing influence began to make Xi uneasy. Zhang is a fellow princeling from a powerful military family. He may also have been implicated by the two fallen defense ministers. What began as an alliance soon turned into a bitter power struggle between the two. There were reports that Zhang was the next one to be purged, and he was seen in CCTV reports sitting in the corner of the room at Politburo meetings. People were saying Zhang Youxia looked extremely miserable. So to survive, he must fight back. Now, he appeared to gain the upper hand in April 2024. That's a year ago, when Xi Jinping's top military enforcer, Zhong Shaojun, was suddenly reassigned to head a military academy. And we have a picture of Zhong Shaojun. Now, Zhong had held that position as the first as the deputy director, and then as the director of the general office of the CMC, Central Military Commission. So he had been in that post for over a decade. His removal was quickly followed by the restructuring of the Strategic Support Force, which was a military branch that Xi had created during his military reforms, making the move an unmistakable embarrassment for him. Then Xi fought back. In June, he called for political rectification and demanded absolute loyalty from the military during a high-profile conference in Yan'an. It was his desperate attempt to reassert control. Then, 1 week before the third plenum, he fast-tracked the promotion of General He Hongjun, one of his loyalists, in a solo ceremony. Here's He Hongjun. I'm just trying to make the name match with the face. So he promoted He Hongjun in a solo ceremony, which was perceived as an insurance move in case Miao Hua didn't survive the political purge. But by mid-July, things spun out of control. It's not Xi Jinping versus Zhang Youxia. It was Xi Jinping versus his own health. So on July 15th, the opening day of the third plenum, state media published a 10,000-word editorial praising Xi Jinping as a great reformer. Hours later, it was completely scrubbed from the internet, as if it never existed. At the same time, rumors erupted that Xi Jinping had suffered a stroke on the first day of the plenum. Now, after 12 years of total control, without a deputy or a successor, Xi Jinping's power structure proved dangerously fragile. One health emergency could mean total collapse, and that's seemed what happened. We may never know exactly what happened behind the scenes at the third plenum, but a health incident seems certain. Leaks from Beijing claim that Zhang Youxia seized the moment and invited party elders to attend the meeting and finish the meetings without Xi Jinping. During this time, state media blacked out coverage of the third plenum. On the final day, CCTV aired a short segment, but I analyzed the footage and found that they used old stock clips of Xi Jinping to fill in the gaps. It wasn't him at the event. The real Xi Jinping was still missing. After the plenum on July 19th, Yuan Fuzhong, the leader of the Vietnamese Communist Party, or the former leader of the Communist Party, passed away. To counter rumors of ill health, Xi Jinping appeared to visit the Vietnamese embassy in Beijing to pay his respects. Many said that it was a body double. I examined the handwriting left in the condolence book. Do I have that? Oh, here we go. Yeah. And it didn't quite match Xi Jinping's handwriting. Okay. Now, aside from that appearance, Xi Jinping vanished from public view between July 15th and August 19th, when Vietnam's new party leader To Lam visited Beijing. Xi Jinping re-emerged to welcome him in an official ceremony. Interestingly, World Journal, one of the leading Chinese newspapers based in the US, reported that this was Xi Jinping's first public appearance since the third plenum, indirectly confirming that Xi Jinping never actually visited the Vietnamese embassy a month earlier. CCTV footage of Xi Jinping during To Lam's visit only showed frontal and wide shots, while Vietnamese media released a side photo which revealed something stunning. Do I have that? Here we go. It showed a shaved patch of hair on Xi Jinping's head, suggesting he might have undergone a head surgery. So it was Xi Jinping's health crisis that changed everything. He lost power while he was out. The next major turning point came during the National Day banquet at the end of September, when Xi Jinping invited Wen Jiabao and Li Ruihuan, two of the most outspoken retired CCP leaders, to sit beside him. Yeah, the pictures are a little small, you can see. But that was the picture. And he also placed several other party elders at the head table. So to Western observers, it looked like a gesture of goodwill, an effort by Xi Jinping to show respect to the party elders. But we knew better. This was not Xi Jinping acting out of generosity. It was a sign that he had lost power. There's no way Xi would willingly seat Wen Jiabao and Li Ruihuan next to him if he were still the undisputed leader. It was clearly that something had changed. Now, from that moment, developments accelerated. Rumors soon emerged that one of Xi Jinping's top military allies, Miao Hua, had been taken down. Then on November 28th, authorities officially announced that Miao was under investigation, which was a political bombshell. It sparked intense debate among Chinese watchers like myself. Was this purge carried out by Xi Jinping himself, or was it orchestrated by his opponent, which was most likely Zhang Youxia? At the time, the answer wasn't obvious. The next major clue we observed was the disappearance of Wang Chuning, commander of China's People's Armed Police, or PAP. Wang Chuning, where are you? There he is. who was noticeably absent from key meetings since December 2024. If Xi Jinping had been planning a comeback, the PAP, People's Armed Police, would have been his most likely tool to use. In that context, Wang's disappearance marks a lot of marks something that's how to say it made a lot of sense if you look back. Now the PAP, the Armed Police Force, with around 1.5 million personnel, was once under the control of China's public security system. After becoming the top leader, Xi Jinping brought the entire force under the direct command of the CMC and replaced much of its leadership with trusted loyalists. He also restructured and reshuffled the PAP's organization. Previously, the PAP had 14 internal mobile divisions spread across China. Xi Jinping, however, consolidated them into just 2 national-level mobile corps, and their deployment clearly reflected Xi Jinping's political priorities. The first mobile corps is based in Zhending County, Hebei. Now, this place is no small place. It's where Xi Jinping began his political career as a party secretary in the 1980s. And the second mobile corps is based in Fuzhou. It's also a significant place. It's where Xi Jinping spent over 13 years during his 18-year tenure in Fujian. So now you see, how important the PAP is to Xi Jinping. So if Xi Jinping attempted a desperate power grab after he is being sidelined, the PAP would have been the most readily deployable force. And both the PAP's commander and its political commissar, Wang Chuning was the commander, and Zhang Hongbin was the political commissar. They were handpicked by Xi Jinping. Both men have now been reportedly detained. They have not been seen in public. So you see, the reason is not just corruption. There might have been serious attempts by Xi Jinping to mobilize PAP units to eliminate his political enemies. And that effort seems to have failed. And now they themselves have been taken down. So that was then. And then in February 2025, news surfaced that Xi Jinping had already lost power to 3 82-year-old party elders, Hu Jintao, Wen Jiabao, and Hu Deping. Do I have pictures of them? There we go. They were the 3. You know who Hu Jintao and Wen Jiabao are, and Hu Deping is a prince. He's the son of former party leader Hu Yaobang. Now, these 3 men were reportedly pulling the strings from behind the scenes. That was February. And then in March, we heard rumors that CMC chairman He Weidong had been arrested. Yeah. This is the man who Xi Jinping entrusted with Taiwan operations. And then his arrest, news about his arrest, was followed by the death of He Hongjun, the general Xi Jinping had rushed to promote 1 week before the third plenum in July 2024. Right, so his death was the next news that broke. Then in May came the shocking revelation that He Weidong was also likely dead. Although the death of the 2 generals have not been confirmed, their detention is certain, and we haven't seen them. So in addition to these key figures, a growing list of top PLA leaders have either disappeared or been purged. Some notable names include Lin Xiangyang, commander of the Eastern Theater Command, Wang Houbing, former Deputy Chief of Staff of the PLA Navy and the newly appointed commander of the Rocket Force, Wang Xiubing, former commander of the Southern Theater Command, Wang Haijiang, commander of the Western Theater Command, Qin Shutong, former political commissar of the PLA, Qin Shengxiang, chief of the General Office of the CMC, Yuan Huazhi, political commissar of the Navy, and then some retired officers. So for anyone still arguing that Xi Jinping is firmly in power, how do you explain this level of purging? Then in May, Xi Jinping disappeared from public view for 2 weeks, during which a secret meeting was reportedly held by party elders, including both current and former Politburo Standing Committee members, and some invited leaders to discuss Xi Jinping's future. Speeches from these meetings were leaked online, even though their authenticities remain unconfirmed. And then rumors flooded the internet about who might succeed Xi Jinping, with the most dominant theory naming Wang Yang as the next party secretary and Hu Zhenhua as the next premier. Around the same time, yet another shocking death made headlines. General Xu Qiliang, here we go, who has retired, right? When he retired from the 20th Party Congress. Yeah. So General Xu Qiliang was a decorated pilot and former PLA Air Force commander. And I talk about the ominous timing of his death in my previous program. It sparked speculation that he might have been involved in a coup attempt and therefore had to die. Actually, there are follow-up information about his death, pictures of his memorial service being leaked, and according to what people who attended the event, it was very low-key. I mean, no high-ranking officials sent flower wreath, and no ranking members of the CMC, sent anything. So it was so obvious that there was something wrong with him. I mean, it was not a normal death. I mean, if he died from heart attack, as like people claim when he was running or jogging, then that would have been a normal. Not a normal cause of death, but there was no political implication. It was if it's purely health, without any political implication, members of the CMC and members of the Politburo would send their flower wreath, but people said that there were none. So that means that he absolutely was implicated in some terrible crimes. And that explained his death. So now multiple sources claim that Xi Jinping has lost power and is merely a puppet. And the latest piece of evidence is his meeting with the visiting Belarusian president, Lukashenko. And the meeting wasn't held at the Great Hall of the People or any other official venue, but at Xi Jinping's private residence in Zhongnanhai. So everything I presented above is a chronological summary of the key developments over the past year, which I have covered in detail. All of the points or the events I mentioned, I have already covered them in my live streams. Now, these events cannot be argued as mere coincidence. They paint a clear picture of Xi Jinping's political downfall. Now, let me address why I think Xi Jinping is under house arrest. The CCP doesn't care what American mainstream media say, but do care about what people like myself say. They study what we say very attentively. Over the past week or so, they've responded with unusual attentiveness. So when we pointed out that Xi Jinping hadn't been seen in public for 2 weeks, the CCP quickly arranged for Xi to appear alongside the Belarusian president. When we noted that it was suspicious that Xi had vanished from the front page of the People's Daily. Sure enough, he reappeared on the front page. When we highlighted the absence of his chief of staff, Cai Qi, during the meeting with Lukashenko, the CCP responded by having Cai Qi appear next to Xi at a subsequent meeting, which I will show you later. When we observed that state media had dropped using Xi Jinping's full titles and honorifics, Xinhua followed up by publishing reports that explicitly listed all 3 of his official titles: President of China, Party Secretary, and also Chairman of the CMC. So let me talk about the next event. After meeting Lukashenko on the 4th and having a call with President Trump on the 5th, Xi Jinping met with the 11th Panchen Lama from Tibet yesterday, which is considered a spiritual leader in Tibet. But this is the CCP appointed Panchen Lama. Okay, so let me make this bigger. So here are the pictures. Did you notice anything? Well, these the one on the top is, well, the one on the right, lower right corner is the meeting with Lukashenko. And the one on the top left is with the Panchen Lama, the Tibetan spiritual leader. As you can tell, they're in the same place, right? So there's such an attempt to do damage control after swirling rumors about his power slipping. The official Xinhua report listed all of Xi Jinping's titles, like I said, General Secretary, State President, and Chairman of the CMC in the news report. And it also noted that top officials Wang Huning and Cai Qi were present at the meeting. With Cai, this is Cai's first appearance after being absent from Xi Jinping's last two public events. And one key detail didn't return to normal: the venue. Photos show the meeting took place at the same place where Xi Jinping met Lukashenko, which is the Chunyi Zhai inside Zhongnanhai, Xi Jinping's personal residence. That's according to what he told Lukashenko during a video clip. So this time, they added a screen behind Xi Jinping. Why? Well, there were overwhelming comments about Xi Jinping sitting in front of 4 giant windows, which were so plainly decorated without any screens, because it's almost bad feng shui. That's unfit for a top leader when you sit directly in front of windows. So the CCP heard the comments and added a screen between Xi Jinping and the windows. So now you could see the 2 pictures, right? So there's a window in the top left picture. Now here's the problem. Meeting between party leaders and Panchen Lama are never private affairs. They're symbolic acts. They're rituals that signal Beijing's control over Tibet. In fact, every Chinese leader since Jiang Zemin has met with the Panchen Lama in a formal high-level setting. So let's take a look at the history. So June 10th, 2015. Do I have the picture? Yeah. June 10th, this is 10 years ago, when Xi Jinping met with the Panchen Lama in Zhongnanhai for Tibet's 50th anniversary of falling under control of the CCP, becoming an autonomous region of China. And then, so that was 10 years ago. And then this was in 2005, I believe. Yeah, February 2005. Hu Jintao met him at the Great Hall of the People for the 40th anniversary. And then in 1996, Jiang Zemin met with then the 5-year-old Pan Chan at Zhongnanhai, formally with top officials like Li Ruihuan present. So even though the child had just been recognized as the reincarnation spiritual leader for Tibet 2 months earlier, it was still done with full ceremonial weight in a formal setting, as you could see, right? Now this year, 2025, marks the 60th anniversary of the founding of the Tibet Autonomous Region. So a meeting was expected, but instead of following past precedent and using the Great Hall of the People or a more formal setting, or any of the ceremonial halls in Zhongnanhai, Xi Jinping hosted the meeting in his living room. Why? So, let me come back. So the question is why? Here we go. Now, think about it. If Xi Jinping, with all the rumors about him, being, losing power, losing control, obviously he wanted to shut down rumors, right, that he had been sidelined. So if he really wanted to shut down rumors, arranging the meeting in a formal venue would have been easy and entirely appropriate for such a significant meeting. After all, the ritualized meeting between the party leader and the spiritual leader takes place once every 10 years. And the right party protocol is not only necessary, but also showcases the party's Tibet policy and the leadership continuity, right? So why did he break that tradition? Well, the answer, or according to many people's speculation, analysis, whatever you name it, Xi Jinping may no longer have access to official state venues. To put it nicely, he's working from home. To say it bluntly, he's not allowed to leave his home without permission. The Belarus news agency quoted him as saying that his office is right next door. So let me show you pictures of a map. Here we go. So this is actually the compound called Fengzheyuan, which is, as you can see, the red circle kind of highlight Fengzheyuan. And then there are different courtyard homes or courtyard dwellings within that compound. And then the top, where I circled, is where Xi Jinping met with the Belarusian leader. So you see, it's quite large. It's not a small, even within Fengzheyuan, it's an elaborate, how to say, it's an elaborate home. It's a big compound. There's several, because Mao lived in the one that's on the right-hand side. The top right-hand side is where Mao used to live. So there are several courtyards, and different people have lived in different courtyards according to their preferences. So for Xi Jinping to say that his office is right next door, it can be, so I've shown you this picture. So his office is either in the Qingzhen or the Yingtai, or the structure in the middle that looked like an island in the middle of the pond. So that's where his office, that's where the office of the party secretary usually is located. So and then that little red square that I highlight is the compound, the Fengzhe compound that you saw in the previous slide. So there's quite a distance between them. So when he said my office is right next door, there's no way he's referring to his old office. So people is saying that he has moved out of his former party leader office. Of course, you may say, well, Xi Jinping is so powerful, he can meet people wherever he wants, he could work from wherever he wants, right? But let's be honest, if he were really at the height of his power, wouldn't he want to flaunt it with proper ceremony and used the 60th anniversary as a grand stage to show off his authority and to show off his great relations with Tibet? So instead, we've seen the opposite, right? So this is not the Xi Jinping we've known. So now Mao Zedong also worked from home in his later years, but that was when his health had deteriorated so badly that he needed physical assistance just to function. And even then, he rarely met important guests in his residence. I mean, only if he had to. So what we're seeing now is something new, something troubling. Let me come back. Xi Jinping, the man once known for demanding absolute power, is now seemingly reduced to working from home status. Why is that significant? Because when a party leader works from home, it's not the same as an average employee like you and me setting up a laptop at the kitchen table. It's not just about moving a desk. For him, changing the office location means relocating the entire infrastructure around him, the general office of the CCP, teams of secretaries, bodyguards, communication systems, and complex layers of security protocols. It's a logistical undertaking of massive scale, not something done lightly or informally. So, did Xi Jinping choose to work from home or move his office on his own, or was he placed under tight surveillance by someone else? Now, if it were just one meeting, right? If it was just the meeting with Lukashenko, maybe he simply wanted to show Lukashenko some Zhongnanhai hospitality. But two high-level meetings in a row, both held in his living room, that's odd. There's no way Xi Jinping made that choice himself, as far as I'm concerned. It looks like someone else is calling the shots. And if that's the case, Xi Jinping may no longer have a say in where he can go to work. Of course, now that I've said this, we may see Xi Jinping appear in another meeting venue just to dispel speculation, because the CCP closely monitors what people like me say, and it responds attentively. After all, the party still needs him to carry out the performance, at least for now. So hopefully, by showing you how he has met guests consecutively from his living room, and by reviewing the chronological order of events that have taken place in the past year, I hope there's enough substance for us to think or to question if Xi Jinping is under house arrest. Okay, that's all for the presentation part of the live stream. Now, I want to answer a question. One of my subscribers sent me a question. He wanted to ask me about the recent video of Jiang Yurong, the first Chinese woman to give a commencement address at Harvard University. And he said it has caused quite a controversy in and out of China. Personally, I thought it was a moving speech, although many see her as a little pink. Would you comment on it? Perhaps do a video? That would be wonderful. Well, there isn't enough materials for me to make a video about it. What I want to say is, well, the Chinese do not like her speech. Whether those inside China or outside China, they do not like that speech. Aside from the fact that this young woman went to high school in Europe and I think college in the US, both college and graduate school in the US, and she belongs to the elite class of Beijing, meaning that her family is somehow connected to the government one way or the other. The speech itself is very fake. It's very lofty sounding, but very pretentious. In other words, it doesn't come across as authentic at all. I mean, I watched. I mean, when she said this, she said when a little this is her saying when a little boy dies in a war that she didn't start and never understood, part of me dies with him. Even I think I did a better job than she did. I mean, when I say this, probably you probably feel that it came from me, but when she said it, it was so fake. And she even shed some tears there, you know. Um, Everyone who has lived in mainland China saw right through her. It was good acting. And then when she said, if there's any woman in the world who cannot afford a period pad, I think she meant sanitary napkins. She said, it makes me poor. This made Chinese very upset, particularly Chinese women, because you know there's so many Chinese women in China who probably cannot afford a sanitary napkin, and those who can afford sanitary napkins in China do not get a good quality one because there have been so many scandals recently about sanitary napkins being made within substandard facilities, and they're like bacterias. I mean, those are just anything but sanitary. So, and they are affecting women's health. So, just like baby formula, Chinese don't trust Chinese-made baby formula. So now some wealthy Chinese don't trust Chinese-made sanitary napkins made in China. So, I mean, they buy the imported ones. So when she said, if there's any woman in the world who cannot afford a period pad, it makes me poor, it did not sit well with Chinese women. It looks so fake. I don't know. I mean, maybe because she's a young, pretty woman, Chinese woman who used her emotion to. I mean, it looks like she's reciting a speech. Come on. I mean, it didn't come from her heart, but it was, maybe some people, forgive her. Oh, because it's not her native language. You could tell that she spoke English with an accent and a pretty strong accent. And so maybe Westerners forgive her and thinking maybe it's, she's trying very hard to give a speech in English and therefore we should accept her. But to a Chinese, it looked so fake. It's unbelievably fake. We can't stand it because it didn't come from her heart. Anyways, in comparison, there's a great commencement speech from Amherst College delivered by a Chinese American. His name is Thomas Yan. I watched his speech. It was so well done. It was such a good speech. It's personable, it's relatable, it came from his heart, it's humorous. It's just such a good speech. I mean, I'm sorry, Luana Zhang's speech is far from there. It sounds like a CCP speech, very lofty, with Xi Jinping's. It was basically a CCP version. It was a it was a speech written based on Xi Jinping's vision for the community of common destiny, but it was customized for the Harvard audience, delivered by an enthusiastic Chinese student. And I don't know. I'm just telling you, Chinese do not like that speech because it's just fake. All right. So hopefully I answer your question. If you don't believe me, watch that speech again and compare that to Thomas Yan's speech from Amherst. You will see the difference. You will know. I mean, the Chinese even comment and say, hey, you think that there's a culture difference between we and China? There is none. They immediately recognize that Thomas Yan's speech is so much better. And go check it out for yourself. I mean, it's day and night. You will know exactly what I mean when I say, the Harvard woman's speech is so fake, so staged, yeah. All right. That's all. That's all. Oh, and not to mention that she was caught in a video. She was caught in a video clip where she seems to be one of the organizers for an event that featured the China's ambassador to the U.S. And there was two protesters, right? One for Taiwan, one stood up for Taiwan, one for Tibet. And those two students were kicked out. And it looked like Luana Jiang was one of the organizers who organized the removal or who helped how to say, or removed, who helped remove of those protesters. So yeah, so she is, what I want to say is it's very sad. Harvard educated so many of these so quote unquote Chinese elites, but these people like Luana Jiang or Jiang Yurong cannot lead China. If they return to China, I do not even think they could carry a normal conversation with the poor farmers in rural China. They cannot. They have no empathy for those people, and they cannot even carry a normal conversation with them. So the quote unquote elites that Harvard University or other Ivy League universities have educated, they think that they're educating the next generation of Chinese leaders. These people will fail miserably in China. They cannot lead. They're detached from the real China. They have no idea how people are suffering. So yeah. Anyways, and on the other side, Chinese people will not look up to these people. If these people return to China and think that they'll have a political career ahead of them, I do not think the Chinese people will respect them as a leader, because the grievances are there. You have everything. Someone actually made this comment, said, if she thinks China is so great, then why did she go to the UK for high school and the US for college and graduate school? Why didn't she just stay in China if she thinks China is so great? And that's a predominant view amongst the Chinese in mainland China. So I do not believe she has a political future in China, even though she went to the Kennedy School. So the Kennedy School is not helping China at all. Anyways, all right. So that's my answer. All right, where am I? Did I lose everyone? Okay. Questions? Comments? Different opinions? Criticisms? All welcome. All right, let me see. First of all, I want to thank the people who give me super stickers. Drusilla Schultz. Thank you, Drusilla, for always being there for me. Thank you. All right. Here, Miles David. Do you think Xi's replacement will be better or worse? Backing off from Taiwan, etc. Also, your microphone and audio sounds great. Okay. I'm happy to hear that. I'm glad that it worked. I addressed that question in one of my live streams, and someone said that don't expect Zhang Youxia being any different from Xi Jinping in terms of his view on Taiwan. I think politically, Taiwan unification or the quote unquote Taiwan unification is important to all CCP leaders, as long as they hold on to the regime, no matter who it is, because it is part of, they need to get rid of ROC to legitimize the PRC's rule. And so I think Zhang Youxia may be more pragmatic than Xi Jinping in terms of when to launch a war, right? But no one is saying no to that idea of Taiwan unification. So I think the difference is just he may be more pragmatic because he understands the consequences if there's a failure. But idealistically and vision-wise, I do not see any difference between this leader and then the next leader, unless the next leader disintegrate uh, or end the CCP's regime. Then that would be there would be a major difference. Okay, all right. Let me do this. Okay, so this is still on. All right, let me see. Where am I? Oh, here's one. Mike Stewart. It's going to take me forever to remember all these new names. I know. I think we've put names on the slides, so hopefully that's helpful. It actually took us quite some time to add the names to the slides. Thank you. All right. But for people who follow China news attentively, I think these names are not foreign. Okay. All right, let me see. Any other questions? Oh, here's one from CWLPFOC. Wow, thank you. Thank you for your hard work and diligence. Well, thank you very much for your generosity. I appreciate it. Thank you. I may not have pronounced your name correctly. All right, let me see. All right, here's one. Ian Slater. Any rumors or news about CCP and Israel after exchange from a few weeks ago over humanitarian aid to Palestinians? Well, didn't the CCP, didn't the ambassador, the China's ambassador to Israel publicly denounced Hamas for the first time? And that was what, a few weeks ago. I have not heard anything. I think a lot of the Chinese diplomats and officials are confused. They're trying to figure out, because they don't want to follow the wrong order. They're trying to figure out what order to follow, because right now there's a political struggle. There's ambiguity in terms of, who's issuing orders. And I mean, if we are being blindfolded, or if they're intentional about confusing us so that we can't really tell who's in control, then I'm sure their officials are also confused. So that's why I think we're not seeing much by the diplomats, by the diplomatic corps. It's because they don't know what to do and they don't want to make any mistakes. Okay, all right. Mike Stewart. I'm pinning pictures to my wall like a CSI investigator to have any chance of remembering these new faces and names. Good Lord. Yeah. Okay, well, you could watch it again. All right. I'll try my best to add names and pictures to my future live stream, but it would just take more time from us. Okay. All right. I think that is that the end? That's not the end. Oh, here's a Wes Downer. Which AA main character is Wang Yang? Is that how you say? How do you say? Is it Milne? How do you say Milne? I don't know how to pronounce it. If someone can help me, you mean he's not? If he's not Winnie the Pooh, he's not Tigger. I don't know. I have to take a look. Who's that pink character? Is that the rabbit? He may look like that character. I forgot the name. Oh, here we go. Piglet. Oh, that's the piglet. Is that the piglet? Now, I don't know. What about Hu Chunhua? That's a good question. I'll think about it. Good question. All right. Oh, here's one. Manny Kaila. When CCP finally collapses and loses power, what will happen after that to Tibet, Hong Kong, Xinjiang, and Inner Mongolia? So people wonder if these regions would declare independence, um, like Tibet, Xinjiang, and Inner Mongolia. I have answered this question. I doubt it because the CCP has, in the past 40, 50, or actually 60 years of CCP rule, they have dismantled um, the the social bond within those regions. Um, how to say the elite class of Tibet and Xinjiang and Inner Mongolia are totally controlled by the Chinese, and then they have yeah. So they don't have even they have the even if they want to, their hands are tied. It will be very difficult for them to do that. Um, because the Chinese have made sure that there's enough Chinese infiltration um, amongst the elite class. And then, I mean, in Inner Mongolia, they stopped teaching their own language. They're just trying to eliminate their own culture and religion and replace them with the Chinese communist culture and religion. So it's the consequences is serious. Yeah, when you lose your culture heritage, when the tie to your culture heritage is cut, you're very weak. It's like your hands are tied, and that's exactly what the CCP did in Tibet, Inner Mongolia, and Xinjiang. Not Xinjiang. Yeah, Xinjiang. Okay, all right. Louise Decker. Well, thank you. Boycott China. Oh, love to you. Okay, when you're all right. Is that a song? Is that a song? Well, thank you, boy. I have not heard about the song, uh, but thank you for the admiration. All right. Jeff Ramos, congrats on reaching 300,000. Yes, I did. I reached 300,000 subscribers. Finally. Okay, well, thank you for all your support. All right. Okay. Thank you. Did I miss anyone? Oh, here's one. Drusilla. Very dangerous to be in the Chinese government. Oh, yes, it is. All right, that's all for tonight. Thank you very much. I need to take a break. Chris and I need to take a break. Chris worked very hard gathering these names and pictures for me. So I thank you very much for joining me and enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'll see you next week. All right, bye. Thank you.